Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck. And I decided to on-demand this because they are doing a sequel, and I'm like, okay, what's kind of going on here? And I enjoyed the movie, though there were certain kind of aspects that I think it was down to its execution that kind of was what kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Pretty much of going and sprinkling out the kind of flashbacks throughout the film, and then just kind of making it a little bit more disjointed than it needed to be, and kind of fucking with certain kind of pacing things that were going on. So, Ben Affleck is the titular accountant, Christian Wolf. He is a high functioning autistic, and he pretty much is mainly in revolving for like accounting of numbers and financial kind of systems and everything. I like finance, I like data, I like the accounting kind of stuff. That's kind of cool. Let's kind of see where this goes. So we see like little kind of bits where he's helping this one kind of farming couple out of a kind of situation, utilize pretty much being able to pretty much tap them into like, okay, the wife makes stuff, she sells stuff, pretty much utilizing it to give them kind of tax breaks and kind of help them out with their farm and everything. And they're like, yeah, you can come to the farm and shoot shit and everything if you want to. And that's kind of a little bit that kind of works on, mainly to give the bad guys something to kind of like hold hostage on Christian, more into the kind of later half of the film. We also get John Bernthal from like Punisher and Walking Dead. He is the one that I kind of was the most interested in, character-wise. Like, he just has a lot of fun with it, and he's got more of an interesting kind of stuff. We get him introduced as we see this like short-selling kind of stock person being an asshole, and he's there to pretty much read him the riot act and kind of beat the shit out of him. And he's like, man, you don't want to really do this. And we see that he's kind of like this security dude. So their kind of paths kind of link up because Christian also does stuff for like uncovering embezzlement and stuff for like criminal organizations and everything. We learned that he was in the army, pretty much following his father. His father didn't know really how to deal with him because in the beginning we see that he's at this neuroscience kind of center. It's important because Christian throughout the movie, he's utilizing pretty much this whole kind of block as pretty much a money laundering front, but is donating money here, and also links up to one of the children that he had met at that place. She can only like pretty much talk through a computer, and she's kind of like his handler to kind of help him with his activities, which is kind of interesting. She's got like a computer that, as we learn toward at the end of the film, is like a high grade motherfucker that could like hack into like government facilities and shit. And it's like, yeah, that's important because she's able to do all this kind of stuff. His path also kind of crosses with excuse me, Raymond King. Ray King, who's the Treasury Director, tasking this data analyst, Mary Beth Medina, to pretty much find this kind of titular accountant. And it would be interesting if it was a more kind of cat and mouse kind of game, but it mainly is we're dealing more and getting introduced to Christian doing all this kind of stuff. His flashbacks, seeing that the mother left because she couldn't handle it. They didn't leave him at the neuroscience center. The father thought he could handle it, and we see that Christian also has a brother. That becomes important later on in the movie, as I feel that there were a lot more kind of concepts that were kind of floating around with this that they needed to kind of tie better together, because we see them being trained. The father is attempting to help him out with like the Solomon Grundy kind of nursery rhyme. That's pretty much the thing that gets Mary Beth Medina to pretty much find him, and kind of link up with everything kind of going on and giving Ray King the things that he needs to find the accountant. Let's see. Yeah, her bit is just kind of like interspersed throughout, and then she just kind of like finds the kind of plot stuff that's kind of relevant. Raymond King is important because he was the kind of treasury agent that was with this Francis dude, who's got all these kind of mob connections. However, he didn't really listen to the dude. The dude got let out, and he was killed. This sets off Christian, who was pretty much befriending him in there. He was like on loan to uncook all these different kind of books because he pretty much got into kind of trouble after his father died because of an incident where they went to his mother's funeral. She had left and was married to another kind of family, and that pretty much set him on that kind of path as he went, took him out, took out the mob enforcer that pretty much killed Francis, and then asked, pretty much had Ray King dead to rights, asked if he was a good analyst, if he was a good father, and he said that he's been terrible at a lot of stuff, but he was a good dad, and then he let him live, and pretty much would give certain kind of cases and certain kind of information about these criminal kind of organizations to Ray King, elevating him up to director. And of course, he's about to retire, pretty much seating Mary Beth Medina as his kind of protege. She, of course, has more of a kind of checkered past where she pretty much beat up this kind of drug dealer dude because he was supplying drugs to her sister. That's pretty much the extent of what we get on there. The main kind of crux is pretty much Christian as he's going through and auditing John Lithgow's robotics company, because Anna Kendrick, the accountant there, noticed some incongruities, and he kind of goes at it, pretty much finds it, and figures out that money's been taken out through the shipping company and being pumped back in, pretty much, I guess, to inflate the stock's value, or the company's value, and make it more important. They didn't really go as much into detail as they really should have, I think. Let me see here. We also see that John Berthenol's character is used as a hitman to kill the CFO because it's like pretty much linked to him. But then we see, of course, that these same kind of hitmen under his employ were sent after Christian and also Anna Kendrick's character, Dana. We also see that he's into certain kind of like art and stuff. That links up with Anna Kendrick's character. It kind of just, I don't mind trying to link it as much as possible, but you start like overstuffing it, and this kind of gets a little bit overstuffed, and it just needs to be handled a little bit better to make it a little bit more smooth. Because we see that Christian has a Pollock, and he gives it to her at the end, and we see him kind of taking people out. The action's pretty decent in here. It doesn't go completely and utterly shaky cam, jump cuts every 2 seconds or whatnot, but it's not something that I'd put high on my list, but definitely a competently made action one. Let's see. And then we pretty much get to the end where we find out that John Berthenol's character is Braxton, Christian Wolf's brother, as we get the big kind of action sequence that Christian is trying to protect Dana by pretty much taking out who is going after her, pretty much John Lithgow's character. And the thing is, he was going to at first confront Rita, but finds that she's dead, and it's like, causing him to suspect that John Lithgow's character, Lamar, is the thief. And we see that, like, Lithgow's character is trying to justify his actions at the end, but Christian's just like, fuck that. Because we'd seen this whole thing where he tactically is taking out all these people. This one close quarters combat one that Christian had was pretty interesting. And even Braxton, he's like trying to tell this one dude to stand down. He's like, fuck that shit. And then he just takes his ass out. And they're kind of fighting. And Braxton has evidently been trying to find his brother for years. And he just... It's interesting, and it's like, oh, okay, and we're definitely looks like to be getting more of that in the second one, and I'm glad because this one has the most kind of potential out of everything kind of going on. And once the dude's dead, he's like, Christian's like, I'll get you in a week. And Then, of course, we get the whole reveal at the end. Medina pretty much bringing up what was kind of going on. The reveal of his handler at the neuroscience center. And then it pretty much ending with him driving off with his kind of RV thing, which has his weapons and his art and everything that's kind of important to him. We see him have his routines and everything. It's interesting. It's not the best kind of action movie that I've seen, nor the worst. I think Ben Affleck does a pretty admirable job. It doesn't feel completely forced or kind of like a caricature of an autistic person when he's portraying Christian, which is important. I like seeing kind of representation of different kind of abilities and everything for people, but you also have to watch out that it doesn't fall into a stereotype or just an amplified kind of, oh, look at this weird thing that these people do. No, I was like, oh, okay, I get him going into his mode, him excitedly telling Dana what he was able to kind of find with everything that was kind of going on, and her being like, oh yeah, okay, but her being more into the art and getting into the accountant field from her father. It's like, oh, okay. John Berthenol's like character had the most kind of connections. Like, he has some kind of moral code. He's not going to just immediately kill or destroy anything, just willy kind of nilly. I like his conversation with the CFO of the robotics company, as he's like, listen, take an overdose of insulin, that way I don't have to shoot you and do some crazy ass shit with your wife, because it makes it look like a suicide. Otherwise, if I've got to kill you, I then have to make this look like a home invasion and do this whole kind of production. And it's like, wow, he's doing a really convincing job here. And then him just kind of switching as things are going kind of nutty. He's like, what's going on here in the mansion bit with Lamar, and then figuring everything kind of out. I mean, like, it's my brother. Shit. Medina's was kind of the wasted opportunity, in my opinion. They don't really give her much, but we do have a lot of characters that are introduced here, and our focus is kind of shift. I mean, Christian is the anchor character. I mean, he's the accountant, protagonist of what's kind of going on. But I hope that we get a little bit more from her in the sequel. Ray's was an interesting one where he wasn't a really good agent, and then him kind of getting all these kind of tips from Christian after having the chance encounter, after he was pretty much staking out this mobster to kind of figure out what's going on, when Christian just went in and killed everybody in there, leading to him then having this kind of relationship where he'd pick up certain kind of things from Christian and continue forward, eventually getting to director. We'll see how that kind of pans out. Didn't see anything about Dana from the trailer. She gets the Pollock at the end. It's like, oh, okay, as pretty much a kind of thank you from Christian. Yeah, it's weird. It's mainly that I don't think that this was bad with all the things that were in here. It's just there needed to be little tweaks to either give characters a little bit more, just a little bit, or to kind of streamline certain kind of focusing maneuvers, mainly in regards to like the flashbacks that kind of sometimes screw up the pacing, as we see Christian dealing with his mother leaving, him being bullied and going and taking on other kind of people, him training with this one kind of dude under his as his father watches on, those kind of things. And then of course getting the flashback of an adult Christian with his father at his mother's funeral. But yeah, I would overall recommend watching this to potentially prepare for the sequel if you're interested in it. Mainly just to get an establishment of who Christian is and Braxton is, so that way you understand their kind of relationship and what can potentially be going on in the second one. And it's fine. It's not an overly long movie. It's not like it's going to take you 3 hours to kind of get through it. And it's got some nice action, definitely some interesting characters, and a decent enough kind of world building and plot that's kind of going on. Yeah. I had an enjoyable time with this, and if you're not into action and light blood, I wouldn't recommend this. Yeah. There's not buckets of it. There's some blood, but it doesn't really go completely ham like certain kind of other ones. And if you don't like seeing kind of fight scenes, this definitely isn't for you. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie. So, those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.